الدكتور عمرو طلعت وزير الاتصالات وتكنولوجيا المعلومات. معالي الدكتور عمرو طلعت وزير الاتصالات وتكنولوجيا المعلومات، معالي الوزراء، الحضور الكريم، أرحب بكم في النسخة الأولى من القمة العالمية للبنية التحتية الرقمية والمقامة تحت رعاية فخامة الرئيس عبد الفتاح السيسي رئيس جمهورية مصر العربية. Your Excellency, Dr. Amr Talat, the Egyptian Minister of Communications and Information Technology, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed delegates, it's my honor to welcome you to the Global Digital Public Infrastructure Summit held under the auspices of His Excellency Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the President of Egypt. First, let's rise for the national anthem. أرجو الوقوف للسلام الوطني. Thank you very much. To all the brilliant minds gathered here today, welcome again to the Global Digital Public Infrastructure Summit. It's fantastic to see over 500 delegates from more than 100 countries. Clearly, we all decided that networking wasn't just a tech term, it's our life philosophy. Before we dive in, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge our co-hosts, the Government of Egypt, Ministry of Communications and Information Technology, the UN Development Programme, the UNDP, the International Telecommunications Union, the ITU, the UN Tech Envoy's Office, the World Bank, and our valued partners. Your collaboration has made this summit possible, and together we are poised to explore the future of digital public infrastructure. Now, let's call it for what it is. It's not just a fancy term for Wi-Fi and servers, it's the backbone of our future. DPI is about building societies that are inclusive, equitable, and sustainable. Think of it as the digital glue that holds our global community together. Without it, we'd be just a bunch of disconnected devices. Over the next 3 days, we'll explore how DPI can foster inclusion, tackle climate change, and drive economic growth. But here's the kicker. While we dream big, we must act locally. DPI isn't a one-size-fits-all cap. It's more like a tailored suit. We need regional cooperation to create solutions that fit specific contexts. Let's learn from each other, share our stories, and maybe even swap some recipes along the way. This summit is our chance to transform digital dreams into reality, so let's make it happen, preferably with plenty of Wi-Fi. I'd like to invite now His Excellency Dr. Amr Talat, the Minister of Communications and Information Technology, for his welcoming speech as the host of this summit.
Morning, distinguished guests. I'd like to welcome you all to the first Global DPI Summit that we're delighted to host under the auspices of His Excellency, the President of Egypt, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, in collaboration with our partners at the ITU, UNDP, World Bank, and UN Envoy on Tech. We convene today amidst unprecedented, heightened momentum on the role of technology in shaping our shared, sustainable global future, one that is securely interconnected, universally accessible, and cognizant of technology's pro-social role in our economies. For the first time in the history of our global multilateral cooperation, the digital agenda was at the forefront at the United Nations General Assembly at the Summit of the Future just days ago, transforming our mandate from when and how we will adopt a global governance framework on technology onto what can we do to accelerate the adoption and implementation of the principles that our nations adopted in the Pact for the Future, the Global Digital Compact, and the Declaration on Future Generations. And just before that, the UN AI Advisory Board issued its report and recommendations on governing AI, paving the way forward for a future in which AI cultivates further innovation and socio-economic growth, and its risks are curtailed and regulated. New generations are given the privilege to shape the century. But ladies and gentlemen, here we are. It is now that we must determine through our dialogue first and our actions and policies next, how we choose to chart our course, starting with building interoperable, sustainable, and inclusive digital public infrastructure that serves our local ecosystems. This summit comes at an opportune time to work towards this aspiration. The Digital Egypt strategy has been the driving vision behind our endeavors in Egypt to digitalize government services, build a digital economy, promote innovation, and empower our people with digital skills. In pursuit of developing Egypt's DPI, we've launched the Digital Egypt Government Services Platform, which hosts nearly 170 citizen-centric services and continue government's public and social services, such as the universal health insurance system, our litigation system, among others, many others. The government of Egypt has also launched multiple national payment systems in a leap towards scaling financial inclusion in the whole nation. Central to realizing the impact of all these efforts is empowering our people to actively participate in the digital economy. As such, we continue to invest in upskilling and digital literacy programs to nearly 500,000 citizens annually. Amidst any journey, we must pause to question if we're on the right track. I believe the figures state so. Egypt's ICT sector continues to grow north of 16% annually for the past 6 years and contributes now nearly 6%, up from 3.2% only 6 years ago, of our GDP. Furthermore, Egypt has leapt from category C to category A on the World's Bank GovTech Maturity Index between the years 2018 and 2022. And our AI Readiness Index has spiked by nearly 50 rankings over the past 5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Egypt remains steadfast in its pursuit to harness the power of DPI, to address our modern mandates, to bridge the digital divide, augment security, advance financial inclusion, and promote inclusive governance and digital sovereignty. All while we remain conscious of our local ecosystems' intricacies, yet committed to our interconnectedness and interoperability. Distinguished guests, I invite you all to delve into deep dialogues on developing a common understanding of DPI, anchored in a whole-of-society framework that builds upon the G20 DPI consensus, adopted in 2023 and 2024, and the Global Digital Compact. I look forward to the issuance of this summit's call to action document. And more importantly, I'm confident that our relentless shared commitment towards the responsible stewardship of ICT will build a better digital future for all generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your welcome speech and putting us in context of what's going on in infrastructure and how Egypt has developed in that field. Let's move now to our first panel for the conference, and I'd like to call our esteemed guests. Mr. C.V. Madhukar, CEO of Co-Develop, please join us on stage. And we'd like to acknowledge Co-Develop's role in organizing this summit. Without them, this wouldn't have happened. Thank you again. Thomas Lamanauskas, Deputy Secretary General of the International Telecommunication Union. Amandeep Gill, UN Secretary General's Envoy on Technology. Marina Walter from the UNDP. Nelly Liosk, Ambassador at Large for Digital Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Estonia. Peter Cusack, Lead for ID4D, Identity for Development, and G2PX, Government to People Payments at the World Bank. Thank you very much for joining us, and we're hoping that we get a better feel of what's going on in the field of DPI in your relevant countries and also globally. I'd like to start with Mr. Madhukar, CEO of Co-Develop, and we'd like first to ask a question to the whole panel on your aspirations and views of holding the first DPI Summit.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here. Thank you to Egypt for hosting us. I think the idea of a Global DPI Summit was waiting to happen for the last year or so, I think, as countries around the world began engaging on DPI. We felt that a forum for conversation and exchange of ideas would be an important thing to have. And so we were excited to partner with the government of Egypt, the UNDP, the World Bank, ITU, the UN Tech Envoy's office to pull this together over the last several months. And we're hoping that over the next 3 days, we will have a lot of interesting conversations, a lot of learning from each other, and take things forward from here.
Thank you very much. I'd like to pose the same question for Mr. Lamanauskas. What are your aspirations from the DPI?
So thank you very much. Indeed, it's a real pleasure to be there. And at the outset, let me first thank, of course, His Excellency Dr. Amr Talat for really hosting this superb event. And of course, Egypt is not an accidental host for this event. And already His Excellency listed out a lot of achievements in this regard. And of course, we've also recognized some most recent achievements. For example, the Egyptian recognition as a Tier 1 in ITU's new Global Cybersecurity Index. So I think it really shows the importance of this venue. And of course, we couldn't be more proud of having His Excellency President of Arab Republic of Egypt also lending his patronage for this event, and it just shows how important it is here. And of course, would like to recognize as well our co-organizers, of course, co-develop here, who did a lot of work on this event together with the Secretary General's Tech Envoy. We always say office, but we have Tech Envoy himself, so I think it's so Amandeep here. So of course, his leadership as well, together with UNDP and World Bank in this regard. So I think you already started right in the opening when you said, what is a DPI? And indeed for us, DPI is something that goes beyond the connectivity. We're working, of course, as an ITU now for nearly 160 years next year to connect everyone, but connectivity itself, of course, just having people connected to the global internet is not enough. So I think for us, DPI is this next layer there that makes that connectivity really meaningful. And again, this event here is not happening in the vacuum. So already last year, as part of SDG Summit in New York, the DPIs were selected as one of the high-impact initiatives by Secretary General Guterres for all us to work on this. And we, since then, UNDP, ITU, and Secretary General's Tech Envoy, we're working together to really to operationalize that concept and to make it into reality. So from ITU's perspective, of course, already DPI is a big part, integral part of a lot of our initiatives. So here outside, you can see an exhibition, you can see a lot of information about GovStack, which is our initiative together with GIZ in Estonia here as well, and well other partners, which tries to, and Digital Impact Alliance, which tries to popularize DPIs in the e-government, digital government space, and again, already with the 20 countries engaged. And Egypt is also applying GovStack in a lot of areas, including to promote digital health infrastructure. The DPI is a big part of our GIGA initiative that aims to provide connectivity and beyond to all the schools. And we have in the GIGA, we have DPI Education Accelerator. We work with the World Health Organization on global initiative in digital health, and part of it, again, how to integrating DPI architecture in this regard. And then, again, just earlier this year, we launched Open Wallet Forum together with the Linux Foundation, Swiss Confederation, with support of the Swiss Confederation and UN International Computing Center, again, to promote interoperable digital wallets around the world. Another aspect, maybe just to quickly mention, is here in Africa. So again, we see DPI as an integral part of African Union's digital transformation strategy for 2022-2023. And indeed, tomorrow we'll have a session here on African DPI Blueprint Initiative that we're working together with the UN Office of Special Advisor on Africa, again, Tech Envoy, as well as Economic Commission of Africa, African Union Commission. DPIs will also be a key part of our discussions in World Telecommunications Organization Assembly, actually happening already this month, just a few weeks away in New Delhi, where we have proposals from India, from African Telecommunications Union, again, how to strengthen DPI work and our standards work. So, and finally, already His Excellency the Minister mentioned Summit of the Future, and during Summit of the Future was also adoption of a Global Digital Compact, and DPI, of course, is that compact also enshrined DPIs as a key integral part of creating a digital future for all. So I think Indeed, for me, this summit is actually the first Global DPI Summit, and then again, congratulations to Egypt. We'll also remember that as a host of the first summit, is really to further this conversation, how we can operationalize DPIs, and how we, through that, we really can make this safe and efficient, sustainable digital future available to everyone. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you. And that will take us beautifully to His Excellency Amandeep Gill, UN Secretary General's Envoy on Technology. The GDC was adopted last week during the UNGA. How will this impact the global digital cooperation?
That's been a historic development. But before I get to that, I just want to thank His Excellency, the Minister, for getting us together here. Egypt is the place and Africa is the continent where this discussion should be happening. So I'm very grateful to our partners who worked to bring us all together. And as Madhukar said, this is the beginning of a conversation, comes at a beautiful time. The Global Digital Compact that you referred to, adopted the Summit of the Future, it's the first truly universal understanding on digital cooperation. 6 or 7 years in the making. There have been several previous steps that have been crucial to this moment. It also has the first global recognition of DPIs, digital public infrastructure, as an accelerator of inclusive digital transformation. The G20 understanding that the minister referred to, that has spiraled into a global understanding on DPIs, their strategic role in building a more inclusive digital economy. It's really about sweeping more of society into the modern economy and doing so in an empowering way, not in a disempowering manner. So the significance of the Global Digital Compact lies in this political anchoring. It also lies in some very specific areas for follow-up action. Investments into DPIs, my colleague Thomas referred to the ITU's work there. So we have to move from the connectivity paradigm to a digital public infrastructure paradigm where you have a demand pull also on the supply side initiatives. So there are some clear indications there for action. There are calls for new partnerships on funding, on working with civil society and other partners, especially the private sector, to make sure that we don't leave anyone behind and then the risks and the potential harms can be managed. And then there is a specific call out for frameworks that allow us to capture the ongoing experiences, learnings from DPIs, and then turn them back to the DPI ecosystem, DPI communities, so that the quality of digital public infrastructure, their implication for the future improves. And that's why we've been very proud to launch with UNDP last week the Universal Framework on DPI Safeguards, work on which Co-Develop and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have helped us, and also a group of international organizations, including ITU, World Bank, the Digital Public Goods Alliance, and others who are very active in this space. So we have to continue building this community together, and this summit is a great place to begin with, and GDC is now our common charter.
Thank you very much. We'd like to move now to Ms. Marina Walter, the Deputy Regional Director for UNDP, and I would like you to shed light on the same topic. How can we benefit from DPI and boost the global cooperation with regards to digital infrastructure?
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so very much. And I think I want to join my colleagues, first of all, the fantastic co-hosts who all pulled together to make this summit happen, but really also our thank you to the minister personally and the government of Egypt. We wouldn't be here without you. Fantastic hosting. It's not the first time. And it also points to the role model function that you have, you know. And I think for the UN Development Program, it's been a very long history of working with the government. And we've seen the vision and that was translated into action as a practical example of what DPI can do. Because we know it's beyond the technology, and that's very important for where we stand. You know, it's transforming societies, it stands and it's equal with access, with transparency. I think the minister more than once also pointed to its usage and its connectivity. When you look at the health sectors, these are elements that change societies, make them more inclusive. And that's an element that's very important from where we stand, because DPI is starting to change the way societies interact and the way we can allow also the ones at the fringe of societies to be part of it, whether we're talking about young people, whether we're talking about women, small enterprises coming to the forefront. For us, it's a very important platform, and I think we're all saying the same, that will change the way societies interact. And so recently at the UNGA, the Summit of the Future, it becomes more and more a topic that is in the center of everything that we're doing. So I really hope that we'll use the summit to come together. It's a fantastic group, thought leaders, academia, private sector, to really, in a very practical manner, reflect on, so what comes after this summit? What role will DPI have to play, and what can we all do? And I think I brought you also a video of our Chief Digital Officer for UNDP. This topic has become so important that Robert Obb, who was, him and his team, one of the co-organizers, and it really has driven this summit, he joined UNDP a few years ago and really made sure that in all of what we do with governments, this comes to forefront as a topic of support and increasingly also an area of engagement. And I think we brought a little video from Robert, who unfortunately apologizes because he fell sick with COVID, but he was supposed to be here with us.
But I believe we have something. We have a
Excellencies,
video, right?
ladies and gentlemen, I am devastated to not be with you in person as I had planned. Unfortunately, I caught the strain of COVID that was going around the UN General Assembly, and I thought it would be better to isolate. I have been looking so much forward to this amazing opportunity, global gathering of people who believe in the transformative power of digital public infrastructure, as we at UNDP do. I would like to thank the government of Egypt, and in particular, His Excellency Minister Talat, for their amazing support as hosts for this event. And I'd also like to thank our co-hosts, Co-Develop, ITU, the Office of the Secretary General's Envoy for Technology, and the World Bank for their usual incredible collaboration as we organized this event. Now, with regard to DPI and the global community that has emerged to support it, we do find ourselves at a pivotal moment. And I think we've recently achieved 3 big milestones that I'd like to note here. First, after years of hard work from so many people in so many countries, with the adoption of the Global Digital Compact, we now have international recognition of the importance of DPI in building safe and inclusive societies. Secondly, last week, together with the UN Technology Envoy, we launched the Universal Safeguards Framework for digital public infrastructure. This was an international multi-stakeholder process that brought together 44 expert working group members, 13 multilateral organizations, and over 100 contributions from governments, private sector, and civil society. The Universal DPI Safeguards Framework is a set of actionable guidelines that serve as an open public asset for DPI practitioners globally. In the next phase of this work, we will continue to learn and evolve the framework as we now move to support implementation at the country level. And we're grateful for the support of Co-Develop and the Gates Foundation for this initiative. The third milestone is this meeting itself, the first dedicated global summit for DPI, which is an opportunity to bring so many like-minded people together to talk about our common goals and efforts. And that is the key to our next step in digital public infrastructure. As we move forward, collective action and collaboration between government, civil society, and private sector will be absolutely critical to ensuring that DPI continues to evolve. Efforts like the 50 and 5 initiative, which now includes 22 countries, is a testament to our shared commitment. And we must continue to build on this momentum, shaping global consensus around the DPI approach. And for us, that approach is not just about the technology infrastructure. It's about creating communities of innovation and embedding safeguards. Together, it ultimately serves to empower individuals, protect their rights, and create a digital future that is safe, inclusive, and sustainable, while making sure no one is left behind. Thank you, and I wish you an excellent summit.
We extend our thanks to Mr. Robert Opp, the Chief Digital Officer for UNDP, and of course, we appreciate him recording that speech for us. Let me move now to Nelly Liosk, Ambassador at Large for Digital Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Estonia. And we're actually very interested to know more about Estonia's experience on sharing DPI initiatives with other countries aspiring for a successful digital transformation.
Thank you. I would also like to thank very much from my side our host today, the government of Egypt. We have had very intense discussions over the 4 years on DPI and beyond, and I am truly impressed by all the achievements. So thank you so much. And of course, all the panelists here to bring us all together to discuss digital public infrastructure, which for us in Estonia has been about building a solid base for digital society. So over the past many years, we have seen the launch of massive, large-scale, very impressive tech and innovation projects. And often these have not materialized, and have not materialized for several reasons. But one of them actually has been building a very solid foundation so that everybody can use and also benefit from this digital infrastructure. So I'm really glad that DPI has again brought its solid foundations to our light. But I would actually like to refer to both some that Amandep and also Robert referred to, because I know that many of us were last week in New York. And we really witnessed a very pivotal moment, because for the first time in the world, we have agreed on some principles that we follow in building our digital society, both when it comes to opportunities, but also when it comes to the risks, because unfortunately, we all know that it does not only come with good, but cyber attacks, for example, have become our everyday reality. So we also agreed how we all together tackle these opportunities and also risks, and agreed that we will do it in an open and inclusive way where we all feel safe and secure. So as you also referenced, I have a pleasure to represent Estonia, often referred to as the digital nation. Those who do not know can Google. But I can also guarantee that we have a very comfortable life in our digital world in Estonia, because we can do pretty much everything there. Vote, we can sell a car, rent a house, we can get married. But when we look at our journey and our development, it has actually not been about being the most digital nation, or it has not been about technology. It has been about these principles that we agreed last week. It has been about building an open, inclusive, very well-to-do society where we all feel good and that we all can benefit from. And I would just like to illustrate this with some of these examples, so how these principles have actually incorporated in our very practical digital life, and how we have also built it together with so many partners and also shared it. So many of you may know or remember that in 2000, Estonia opened a data exchange platform called X-Road. And this platform allows to change data between not only government organizations, but the entire society, so that also different partners from private sector, academia, can use this data exchange layer that the government has developed. In 2016, we realized we do not need to do it alone. We can actually couple up with other countries, and we are developing it currently together with Finland and Iceland. And as already Thomas referred to, in 2020, we were co-founders of the GovStack initiative, where we realized that we can share this experience globally, but also learn from the global experience from the others. Around the same time we opened the X-Road, we also gave digital identity to every single person in Estonia, and it's used across all sectors. But why I am referring to these examples is actually that through these examples, we have learned to share what we have done in our government. We have learned to share it with our partners internally, but also externally. And we have also learned to work with one another. And through this practice, working together, we have also learned to trust each other. So this would be also my call for the DPI Summit this year, to make sure that we are not alone in this journey, but we can couple up and find good partners for each other. So thank you.
Thank you very much for this inspiring experience, and definitely this is the main objective of getting together today, is to learn from each other and share experiences. I'd like to move now to Mr. Peter Cusack, the lead for ID4D, Identity for Development, and G2PX, Government to People Payments at the World Bank, for his views.
Thank you, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the World Bank, it is our pleasure to be co-organizing the Global DPI Summit alongside our partners on the stage. Thank you to our esteemed hosts, the Government of Egypt. The World Bank has been committed to the DPI agenda for more than a decade. We are currently supporting more than 70 countries on different parts of their DPI journey, with a focus on identification, payments, data exchange. And it's terrific to see in the audience so many of our client governments, and I'm so looking forward to hearing from you over the next 3 days about your DPI journey and DPI experience. On the research and knowledge front, the World Bank has developed the world's most comprehensive global database on identification through our ID4D, Identification for Development program. The database shows us that despite all the progress, there are still 850 million people who lack legal identity, and more than 3 billion people who cannot verify their legal identity online. It's thus preventing them from accessing some of the key social services and other transactions. And this just shows us that DPI is really at the core of a social contract between the government and the people. World Bank's commitment to digital transformation has also been evidenced by elevating the agenda and establishing 3 months ago, for the first time ever, digital vice presidency. It's joining the other 4 vice presidencies focused on prosperity, planet, people, and physical infrastructure. 1 month ago, we welcomed to the World Bank our first ever vice president for digital transformation, Mr. Sang-bu Kim, who has been one of South Korea's chief architects of their digital journey. He has recorded a video message that we would now like to share with you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sang-bu Kim, and I am Vice President for Digital Transformation at the World Bank. On behalf of the World Bank, we are honored to serve as co-host of this summit and to welcome you to what I am sure will be an enlightening and inspiring event. I wish my schedule had allowed me to join you in person, but I know the World Bank is well represented in the room and that many of the governments we have been supporting on digital public infrastructures are there to share their experience and to learn from others. This community plays a vital role in driving digital transformation. The pace of the digitalization speeds up every year, bringing increased demand for technology to deliver fast, tangible benefits to people's lives. To fully realize the promise and build safe, inclusive, and transformational digital economies, we must do things differently. Digital public infrastructure is a powerful way to do that. By creating foundational digital building blocks like digital identity, payments, and data sharing, countries can launch digital services faster, more seamlessly, and with greater security. This fuels innovation and equips us to deliver the rapid response services needed to tackle global challenges and help create a world free of poverty on a livable planet. For example, research from the World Bank found that during COVID-19, countries with core DPI systems in place reached 3 times more beneficiaries with financial assistance program than those without them. What makes DPI potentially revolutionary is that it's not just about technology, it's about ensuring these systems work for people. DPI requires a public benefit orientation that breaks in privacy, inclusion, strong governance, and user centricity from the beginning, along with constant public engagement to refine and improve its functioning. This approach is essential for closing the digital divide, managing risks, and unlocking the full potential of digital transformation to improve lives and create a more sustainable, equitable future. The World Bank has been at the forefront of helping countries put these principles into action for nearly a decade. Throughout the Identification for Development, ID4D, initiatives, we are providing support to over 70 countries and over $2 billion in financing, improving ID and civil registration systems for 550 million people, making them safer, more inclusive, and suited to local needs. Our digitalization government to people payments initiatives, G2PX, is transforming government services in more than 35 countries, using DPI to enhance service delivery, expand financial inclusion, and improve women's economic empowerment. Many of the donor partners of these initiatives are in the room, and we are grateful for your support. To amplify these efforts, we are preparing to launch a global DPI program building on the success of ID4D, G2PX, and work on fast payments. We look forward to partnering with all of you to make the vision a reality. Thank you very much, and I wish you a terrific event.
We extend our thanks to Sang-Boo Kim, the Vice President for Digital Transformation, the World Bank, for his recorded address. Well, with this, we come to the end of the opening session. I would like to thank our panelists, Mr. C.V. Madhukar, CEO of Co-Develop and the organizer of the summit this year, Thomas Lamanauskas, Deputy Secretary General of the International Telecommunication Union, Amandeep Gill, the UN Secretary General's Envoy on Technology, Marina Walter, Deputy Regional Director for the UNDP, Nelly Liosk, Ambassador at Large for Digital Affairs at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Estonia, and Mr. Peter Cusack, the lead for ID4D and G2PX at the World Bank. Thank you very much, and I kindly ask you to leave the stage, except for you, because I'd like you to stay with us for a few remarks, Mr. Madhukar. Thank you very much. Well, sir, if you may excuse me, I'd like to invite His Excellence Dr. Boucar Michel, the Minister of Telecommunications and the Digital Economy at the Republic of Chad, for an address on his part. Your Excellency, we are honored to have you with us today, and we'd like to learn more about the main challenges that Chad faces to provide accessible and affordable digital infrastructure. If you may share your experience. Thank you.
Merci. Le ministre des Télécommunications, Dr. Attal, chers homologues, mesdames et messieurs les ministres, les ambassadeurs, je tiens vraiment à remercier mon collègue, mon homologue qui nous a fait parvenir une invitation. C'est pour ma première fois que j'atterris dans ce pays, ce beau pays. J'ai eu à étudier l'histoire de l'Égypte. Le pays de Gamal Abdel Nasser, le monde qui le savent, c'est un homme d'État que nous avons appris l'histoire au secondaire. Merci beaucoup pour cette introduction. Pour nous les autres, que nous soyons croyants, nous connaissons l'histoire de ce pays, l'Égypte. Et le thème que nous sommes en train d'aborder, Monsieur le ministre, je vous remercie d'abord de l'accueil que vous nous avez réservé avec toute ma délégation. J'ai quitté le Tchad il y a de cela 2 semaines parce que nous avons reçu l'invitation de votre part. Le président Mahamat Idriss Déby a souhaité, compte tenu de nos excellentes relations avec le président Sisi, il va falloir que je parte à New York et de New York que je vienne ici. Moi, je voulais honorer mon engagement et vous dire merci pour ceci. Le thème que vous avez si bien énuméré, la construction des infrastructures dans le développement numérique, c'est un thème qui cadre avec le sommet de 70e de l'Assemblée générale où une charte sur le pacte numérique a été adoptée. Mais vous savez que les infrastructures numériques sont devenues des catalyseurs essentiels pour le développement économique et social à l'échelle mondiale. La connectivité, le stockage des données et la communication sont aujourd'hui indissociables de l'essor de l'économie numérique. Alors, cependant, l'accès et la qualité des infrastructures numériques entre les pays développés et les pays en développement, ainsi qu'entre les zones urbaines et rurales, connaissent des problèmes. Dans ce contexte, les objectifs de développement durable, la création des infrastructures numériques inclusives, résilientes et durables sont essentiels pour stimuler cette croissance économique. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? nous avons adopté les ODD de 2015 à 2030. L'ODD 8 fait partie effectivement de tout ce qui est partie de la croissance économique soutenue d'un travail décent. ODD 13 fait partie des activités de changement climatique. Tous nos pays, est-ce qu'on est sûr d'atteindre les ODD 8 et 13? Parce que nous sommes en 2024 et bientôt nous arrivons en 2030. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Il faut qu'on s'interroge. Alors, regardons, c'est un tome assez intéressant, et regardons ce qui se passe à la collectivité mondiale régionale. Un enjeu est stratégique. La connectivité est au cœur des infrastructures numériques mondiales. Elle repose sur des câbles sous-marins, des fibres optiques terrestres et d'installations satellitaires qui permettent d'assurer des connexions instantanées à l'échelle mondiale. Mais il y a un problème structurel. Les cas des pays enclavés. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Si nous prenons le pays comme le Tchad, qui fait à peu près 2000 km, ça c'est le port le plus proche du Cameroun, nous ne pouvons jamais réussir une construction des infrastructures sans y tenir compte de ceux qui sont connectés et qui ne sont pas connectés. L'objectif de ce sommet, c'est de réfléchir et regarder comment on peut connecter les non-connectés, c'est-à-dire ceux qui sont dans les zones rurales et ceux qui sont dans d'autres zones. Alors, maintenant, en ce qui concerne mon pays, le Tchad. Vous savez que le Tchad est un pays qui est au centre avec beaucoup de similitudes, mais la connectivité y regorge assez de problèmes. Nous avons construit des fibres optiques à peu près à 3000 et quelques kilomètres. Ça, c'est des fibres qui sont déjà réalisées. Ceux qui sont en cours de réalisation sont à peu près 2000 et quelques également. Mais les projets en cours qui nous intéressent, nous les autres, c'est de regarder comment, entre le Tchad et la Libye, traverser les infrastructures jusqu'à l'Égypte. Port qui nous semble le plus pro et qui va être réalisé avec la volonté de nos deux chefs d'État. Et je pense que ce projet mérite d'être réfléchi parce que vous savez qu'au Tchad, nous avons un contracteur qui est basé au Tchad, ça fait des années, qui est en charge de la construction des infrastructures. C'est des projets qui sont gigantesques et qui nécessitent vraiment une collaboration conjuguée pour que nous puissions regarder. Je viens de visiter dans ce salon, l'Égypte a d'immenses potentialités dans la cybersécurité, dans l'informatique, dans les universités. Et nous pensons partager quand même cette partage d'informations dans la création des infrastructures comme il le faut. Mesdames et messieurs, nous pensons que le problème qui se pose, c'est de regarder la sécurité et la résilience des infrastructures qui est son défi global. Le développement des infrastructures numériques, bien que porteur d'opportunités, présente également de nouveaux risques, notamment en matière de cybersécurité. Les cyberattaques ciblant les infrastructures critiques, réseaux électriques, systèmes de communication, services financiers, se multipliant, exposant les économies et les citoyens des perturbations. Nous avons traversé la capitale, le Caire, dans votre nouveau capitale. Nous voyons toutes les lignes, l'Égypte est en chantier. Alors, ces attaques, comment on peut le capitaliser? Parce que si on veut développer les infrastructures, protéger les infrastructures, là également c'est quelque chose qu'il faut réfléchir d'une manière assez intéressante, parce que les infrastructures, en particulier dans les pays en développement, sont souvent vulnérables en raison de la faible maturité des systèmes de cybersécurité et de la dépendance des technologies importées. Nous avons la présence ici de plusieurs pays qui ont d'expérience, qui pourront nous accompagner dans ceci. Alors, comment assurer la résilience des réseaux numériques face à des risques croissants, notamment climatiques et géopolitiques? C'est quelque chose d'assez intéressant. Parce que nous sommes dans un contexte, un pays peut dire, moi je refuse de donner la fibre optique. La charte de l'ONU a déjà adopté ça. Donc nous devons regarder ça. Les infrastructures doivent être résilientes. Cela implique la mise en place de systèmes répondants pour garantir la continuité des services en cas de défaillance, ainsi que l'utilisation des technologies décentralisées. Quatrièmement, pour en finir, le soutien aux objectifs de développement durable. Un facteur clé. Comme je revenais sur les eaux de détresse, les infrastructures numériques peuvent également contribuer à une meilleure gestion des ressources naturelles et la lutte contre les changements climatiques en provoquant des technologies vertes et optimisées. Monsieur le ministre, chers homologues, mesdames les ambassadeurs, et nous pensons que c'est un sommet qui doit encore nous amener à réfléchir davantage. Comment conjuguer nos efforts pour soutenir les plus faibles comme nous. Et si je me reviens vers les années 80, pendant que le Tchad était dans la guerre, je me souviens toujours de votre discours d'un de vos hommes éminents politiques qui n'est plus de ce monde, le ministre des Affaires Boutros Ghali, qui disait que nous condamnons l'agresseur et nous sommes avec l'agressé. Je vous remercie.
Your Excellency, Dr. Bokar Michel, Minister of Telecommunications and the Digital Economy at the Republic of Chad, thank you very much for your speech. And now we move on to watch more of the videos that are very explicable of the DPI. We'll explore Egypt's ambitious journey towards enhancing its digital public infrastructure. As the nation embraces the digital age, various initiatives are underway to improve connectivity, accessibility, and efficiency in public services. We'll watch this video and then another one on the Global DPI Summit.
This October, Cairo becomes the epicenter of global digital transformation. Over 500 delegates from more than 100 nations have gathered for the inaugural Global DPI Summit. Visionaries, leaders, and innovators are here to shape the future of our digitally connected world. Over 3 days, together we will explore how DPI can reshape nations, empower citizens, and tackle some of the most pressing challenges of our time. Hosted by Egypt's Ministry of Communications and Information Technology. Co-develop the International Telecommunications Union (ITU), the Office of the United Nations Secretary General's Envoy on Technology, the United Nations Development Programme (UNDP), and the World Bank. The summit is committed to building a more inclusive, sustainable, and resilient future through digital public infrastructure. By the invisible threads of technology, the discussions here at the Global DPI Summit will shape how countries address climate change, financial inclusion, education, and health through transformative digital tools. DPI connects the dots of society. It provides a foundation for innovation, allowing governments, businesses, and individuals to collaborate and build sustainable and digital futures. The summit will offer profound insights and forward-thinking strategies. Delegates will engage on how it empowers governments, engages citizens, and drives public and private sector advancements across diverse regions and sectors. We will uncover how collaborative ecosystems are driving sustainable growth and transformative solutions. We stand at the dawn of a new era. Welcome to the Global DPI Summit.
Well, I'd like to extend our gratitude again for the amazing work done by Co-Develop to organize the first DPI Summit and from bringing people from all around the globe. As we said at the beginning, around 500 participants for more than 100 countries are participating in this summit. We'd like to give them a big round of applause for this amazing work. And I'd like to invite you once again, Mr. Mutakar, for your closing remarks.
Thank you. I'll keep my remarks short. We have an exciting keynote coming from Nandan Nilekani, who initiated a lot of the work on digital public infrastructure in India. I wanted to take this opportunity to sort of capture this moment for us as we look at the DPI journey of many countries around the world. For me, having lived in India, the India example stands out both because of its complexity, the scale at which in the transformation we've seen in India over the last decade or so. But I wanted to call out the very important work that many other countries are actually doing over the last decade or so. And in a bid to capture some of those stories, including Digital Egypt, Mr. Minister, and so many other stories that have evolved over the world in the last few years, we've done a modest attempt to capture these as exemplar stories. We had reached out to many more countries. Some haven't yet responded, and we're hoping we'll do more of these stories so we know this is a global movement. I wanted to take a moment to just show you this book here. It'll be outside for all of you to take. This captures some exemplar stories. My friend Sushant, if you're here, if you just identify yourself, thank you for putting this together for us. So this is truly an important moment for us, both to capture what we've learned from around the world, but also build on it. The collective experience, wisdom, and hunger that we find in this room is exciting for all of us because we're deeply concerned about what the digitization journey might look like. And how do we protect the values we care about so deeply, democratic values, empowering the individual, and so on. And I think the discussions over the next 3 days, we hope will actually bring to life all of these and give us more ideas and more connections to build on all of this together. I will say there is, some discussion about DPI being good for the Global South. Absolutely. I would argue that it is good for any country that wants to be smart in how it wants to pursue its digitization journey. The choice that we have many choices to make. Do we want to have silo solutions for every business process that we want to digitize? Or do we want to think of infrastructure layers that then enable us to build on top, and therefore both being economical as well as being smart about how we build technology? The AI buzzword, of course, that we've been hearing for the last year or two requires the DPI thinking to actually be more efficient, inclusive, and effective for all of us. And so DPI is so foundational that the more we ignore it, to our peril. And this is a moment for us to bring all of this home. I will say, I think a lot of the focus on DPI is about technology, and I'm glad the UNDP and the UN Tech Envoy's office has led this process of inclusion and safeguards for DPI, and that has to be the fulcrum of what we do in everything, because as we know, digitization moves at the speed of trust, and unless we build trust into the system, we will not make progress. So I'm hoping that these 3 days will be rewarding for all of us in many different ways. We make deep connections and take our work forward from here. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, and the government of Egypt, and all the co-hosts for being with us, and all of you who've come from many different parts of the world to celebrate the moment we are in, but also build from here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. CV Madhukar, CEO of Co-Develop. And we'll be having a 10-minute break inside this hall, but don't go anywhere, because after this, we'll be having a session with an icon in the field, Mr. Nandan Nalkani. Of course, you know him for his many inspirational books on the digital transformation, Imagining India, Rebooting India, and many other books. He will be having a presentation, and he will be taking your questions. If you have any question for Mr. Nandan, you can actually send it to us via a barcode, a QR code that will be hopefully on the screen, and we will be collecting your questions and giving them to Mr. Nandan. Thank you again, and remain seated while we prepare the stage for the next presentation.